Welcome. I'm so glad you could join me today. My name is Kathryn Watson. I'm the owner and founder of FindHoustonSeniorCare.com. We're a web directory dedicated to helping seniors and their families find the information and resources they need to age with grace as much as possible. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about what I have called the 8 steps to aging with grace or aging gracefully. So, getting older is a given. Nobody's going to avoid it. Every one of us is going to age, hopefully, because that means we're still alive, right? So you're going to age. There's no doubt about it. But there's some people out there who really seem to age with grace. You've met them, I've met them. They're just amazing. They seem to just go through life feeling joy all the time and bringing joy to others. And these people don't necessarily skate through life unscathed. Absolutely, they don't. They have health issues, they have relationship issues sometimes, they have financial issues, they have the same issues that you and I have as well. But they don't get stuck there. And I think that's the big difference. And so today we're going to talk about ways that you can age with grace by not getting stuck in what's going on with you. So, aging with grace. Let's talk. I want to tell you a little story first. Some of you may have heard of the frog in the boiling water. So, this lady was boiling water to make pasta, and she had just put it on, and it was starting to slowly get a little bit warmer, and a frog jumped in. And the water was a little warm, but it kind of felt good to the frog. So he just kind of hung around down at the bottom. And oh, it was just really kind of relaxing and comfortable. And the water began slowly rising in temperature. And the frog kind of adjusted his body temperature to stay comfortable. And he stayed because he was just comfortable. But soon that water became boiling and it was boiling hot. And the frog was ready to jump out, but he had become so relaxed in the bottom of this water that he couldn't get up the strength and the energy to jump out of the water. Now, the moral of this story is no matter how bad a situation is, it's critical to be proactive and face the problem head on. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the 8 steps. So let me pull those steps up once again for you. So the frog, he knew he didn't know his options. He wasn't accepting what was going on right then. So it's crucial to be proactive and face the problem head on. So when you know what options you have and you get real with it, you accept the fact that maybe you don't have as much money as you used to, or maybe your children are not going to be as active in caring for you as you wish they would. Maybe you had thought that you would go and move in with them, and that's not becoming an option for you. There's a lot of things that sometimes we build up in our mind. We see that life is going to happen a certain way. And then when it doesn't, we get really disappointed and we get upset and we kind of get stuck in that upset. And that's not going to help you to age with grace. So you have to accept where you are in life, where your finances are, where your relationships are, where your health is. Maybe you have diabetes, maybe you have heart disease, maybe you have, whatever. You have something that you're challenged with. You have to know what options are going to be available to you. Let's look at finances, the first thing. Okay. So if you have limited finances, you're going to have limited options as far as care and living conditions. Okay. You just are. That's just the way it is. So you're going to have to accept and know what those options are. If you avoid it, if you pretend like it's not happening, don't talk about your finances with your kids, you don't know what is out there that can help you, because there are a lot of options. There's some wonderful organizations that might be able to help you. But if you don't search them out, you're probably not going to find them. Okay. So knowing your options is important. And I applaud each and every one of you for listening to this video, for attending this conference, for participating and knowing what your options are. So the more you can get out there and educate yourself, listen to videos online, find the resources, read articles, read blogs, get that information so you know what you have to work with. If you have, say, you have rheumatoid arthritis, and you know that in the future there's a possibility that you might be wheelchair bound, then you're going to have to look at, is it the best thing for me to stay in my home? And if I do stay in my home, what do I have to do to make the home habitable so that as my body starts changing and as these things develop and I'm no longer as mobile as I am today, what will I have things in place to help me stay in that home? Or maybe I want to sell the big house and move into a smaller house or move into an independent living community. Know your options, okay? I remember when I talked to my mom about options one time, she was shocked. She didn't know there was anything but a nursing home. That was all she knew that existed. And there's so many more options than a nursing home today. So know what the options are out there, start researching, learn what options are available in your community, and have that information so that you can make a plan for going forward based on your relationships, based on your income, based on your health issues. Okay. And part of that, knowing your options, you've also got to be able to accept what's going on with you. You have to accept that maybe you didn't save as much money as you wish you would have. You have to accept that maybe your kids are not going to step up to the plate and you're not going to be able to move in with them. You have to accept that maybe you have health issues and they're possibly going to get worse. You have to be able to accept that. Okay. That doesn't mean you stop trying to stay healthier and get better and all of that, but you have to accept where you are and what may come down the road. And that's how you move forward with grace. My dad had a major stroke when he was 63 years old. I mean, a big one. They didn't think he was going to come out of it. He was in a coma for almost 2 weeks. And amazingly, he did come out, and he came out in pretty good condition. But he, his doctor sat him down and talked to him. And he told him that he had to do three things. And the three things that he told him were, he said, you've got to start exercising. Now, my dad had never exercised a day in his life. He worked, he came home, he took care of his family, he was a good man, but he didn't exercise. It was not really as commonplace as it is today. There wasn't a gym on every corner. There wasn't all kinds of exercise groups and things like that. It wasn't popular, okay? So he and my mother had never exercised ever. But the doctor said, you've got to exercise. And he gave him a prescription to go to the hospital, had an exercise gym at that time. And he said, I want you. And he said, told my mom, he said, I don't want you to go with him because it's going to help keep you in better health so that you don't have as many issues. And it will keep him going if you go. So that was number one. Number two, they needed to reduce stress. My dad didn't think he had any. We laughed when we heard him tell the doctor that he didn't have any stress in his life. The man was self employed. He had 5 children, the last of which was still a teenager or a preteen because he'd had him kind of late in life. He had grandchildren. He had stress. He had 2 kids in college and another one on the way to go to college. And so he was struggling. And yes, he had stress. So accept that stress is a part of all of our lives. It's how you manage it, or really, I don't even like to use the word manage. I say becoming stress resilient. So you're going to have stress in your life. That's a given. All kinds of things are going to happen to you over the course of your life. But how you handle them will make the difference in whether you age with grace or not. And number 3, accept that life has changed. And that was a biggie for my dad. He had to accept he lost his way of earning a living. He lost his business through the course of this because he was incapacitated for quite some time. And being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur that worked for himself by himself, there was nobody to rely on. So he had to learn to accept that had changed. And I know I talked to a lot of people, and especially in the last couple of years with COVID, a lot of people have had to retire early. They've been forced out of their jobs, or because of illness, they maybe couldn't continue with their jobs, or maybe they had their own business and it went under due to the economic strains of this virus. And you have to learn to accept what has happened. That doesn't mean you have to stop trying to do something else. That doesn't mean you can never work again, but you have to accept that your dream and your vision of how the future was going to happen has changed. It's changed forever. And so you have to move on. So acceptance is huge. Seniors who age gracefully have also learned a very valuable lesson. So they found a way to be joyful and happy. Like I told you, my mother was bedbound for the last 2 years of her life. For the most part, most days she was happy. She just was. She was happy. She was in her own little world, and she was happy. I've known other people who were not happy. They were angry, very angry, and they made everybody around them miserable with their anger. I want to tell you a story about 2 nursing home roommates, and I love this story. It is such a good story. So, there were 2 nursing home roommates, and one man was laying by the window. And the other man was in his bed and he couldn't lift his head up to look out the window. And he was dying to know what was going on outside. So the man by the window told him every day what he saw. He talked about the birds flying. He talked about the sunshine and the rain. He talked about the beautiful sunrises and sunsets. He described children playing, little boys playing marbles and little girls skipping rope. He talked about the people walking down the street. Oh, and it felt like he was there. It felt as if he was right there. It was so wonderful. And this went on for months and months and months. But then one day, the man by the window passed away. And it was devastating. And the man in the other bed, he thought, I don't know who's going to be put in that bed. They might not tell me what's going on. So he asked the nurse, he said, could I please move over to this side of the bed? Could I please move over to his bed so that I can look out the window? And the nurse said, okay. But an amazing thing happened. He moved over by the window, and all he saw was a brick wall. There was nothing outside that window but a brick wall. He couldn't see trees. He couldn't see children. He couldn't see people. He couldn't see the sunset or the sunrise. Nothing. He saw only a brick wall. And he was frustrated and he was angry and he screamed and hollered. And the nurses came in and they talked to him and they said, yo, I'm sorry, but the gentleman who lived here was blind. He couldn't see anything, but he could see. The blind man could see. He didn't see with his eyes, he saw with his heart. And it brought him joy to bring somebody else joy. And the old man who moved into the bed began to understand. That other man had brought him so much joy over the past few months. So he began to describe to his new roommate the beautiful things he saw outside that window. So let's take a look at some of these steps to aging. We talked about knowing your options, about acceptance. And this is something this older man had to do as well. He had to learn to accept that this is where he was. He had to learn to accept that that's what his lot was in life, that he wasn't going to be able to see those things again. We talked about getting physical, how it was so important. And I didn't finish the story with my parents. So that was 63. Dad was 63. He did what the doctor said. He started getting physical. Okay. He started exercising. He and mom became very active. They became very, uh, popular in their group of people that were exercising because they were always looking out for others. They were always trying to bring others happiness and joy. So they were paying attention to the being joyful and grateful. Um, we didn't talk, and I forgot to talk about prayer and meditation and how important that is. That's one of the 8 steps that I find uh, people who age with grace, they spend time reflecting, praying, meditating on the beauty in life and the things that they're most grateful for. And all of the people who age with grace have found a purpose in life. Now, a lot of times people talk about a purpose in life and they think it has to be this big thing. It doesn't. It could be as simple as the blind man painting a beautiful picture for his roommate to bring joy into his life. That was his purpose for the last few months of his life. What a beautiful purpose that was. So, finding a purpose, it could be simple. When my dad passed away, I remember this man from the grocery store where my parents shopped that came to visit. He was a man that had limited resources and he bagged groceries. And he came and he told me a wonderful story of how my father was so kind and always asked about him, asked what he was doing, asked about how his life was going. He was more concerned with what this gentleman was doing than he was with what was happening in his own life. He spent more time asking others. And he said it meant the world to me. I love to see him. He always made me feel good. So that could be your purpose in life, simply to make others feel good. Maybe it's to help your children raise their children and give them that much needed break so that they can go out and foster their marriage and their relationships. So your purpose doesn't have to be some big thing. You don't have to do anything major, but you have to have a purpose. You have to have a reason for getting up each day and finding a way to be joyful and grateful. So the last 2 things I want to talk about is knowing what you truly value in life and celebrating and laughing every day. So, those are the two things that I think will complete you on your quest to become graceful. So, a lot of people tell me I really value my family. That's the thing I value most in this life. And yet, especially working people, I see that they're doing everything but spending time with that family. They're running ragged, trying to make a living, trying to do this and do that. And they're not spending the time with their family. If you truly value your family, you're going to put them in there. If you truly value your health, you're going to spend time learning what you need to do. If you've got diabetes, for instance, you're going to change your diet. You're going to change the way you eat. You're going to change your exercise, and you're not going to fool yourself and saying, "Oh, I eat really well," when you know that you really don't. Okay? You're going to truly value your health by doing what you need to do, by getting out and getting physical, like my dad's doctor told him to, by exercising, by spending time in prayer and meditation to reduce your stress levels. When you give yourself up to a higher power, it's really hard to be stressed when you've fully given yourself up. That's just a fact. So, spending time in prayer and meditation is going to lower your stress levels. That's going to help your body physically. That's going to help you mentally. You're going to find yourself becoming more joyful and grateful. You're going to be able to accept what changes have happened in your life, what challenges have happened in your life, and how you can move forward. I talked to a couple a few years ago. I was doing a talk at an organization, and I talked to the senior couple. And they told me, they said, we really don't want to be a burden on our son. We live about 2 hours away from him, and he really wants us to move closer to him. But we don't want to be a burden. We're afraid that if we move close to him, he's going to feel like he has to come over all the time, and we just don't want to be that burden. And so I started talking to him and I asked them, well, how often does he come over now? And they said, well, he comes over at least once a week because he helps us out with things like mowing the lawn and taking care of things that we're just not able to take care of anymore. And so I asked them, I said, well, do you think it would be easier on him if you lived closer to make those trips over to help you with the lawn? Or do you think the 2 hour drive to see you and the 2 hour drive back home might be a challenge for him? And they stopped and they thought about it and they said, I never even thought of it that way. I was just afraid that if I was too close, that he would feel like he had to be there all the time. But I think he feels that way now. And then there's guilt because he can't be there all the time because he has to work and take care of his own family. So the last I talked to them, they were planning that move, and their son was helping them get set up right down the street from him. He found a great house right down the street from them, and their son was really excited about them being so close so they could help out with the grandchildren. Wow, win-win. So that's what I call aging gracefully. It's finding those ways that we can help support one another. We can find a purpose. We can value our family or value our health. We know our options. We accept that things have changed. I can't do what I used to do, maybe. Maybe I can do something else. And the last but not least, you got to celebrate and you've got to laugh every single day. You've got to find a way to laugh. It's so important. I recently joined a pickleball group because I wanted to get exercise and I wanted to meet more people. So I wanted to be more social. And the group I found, we laugh, we cut up. We're not worried about who wins and who loses. We're just out to have a good time. And so we cut up and we tease each other when we miss a shot and we laugh and we laugh. And it feels so good. And I come home from pickleball feeling energized and happy and joyful and just so grateful. So celebrate something every day. It doesn't matter what's going on today. You can change it with your attitude. You can change it with how you feel about your life. I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope it's been helpful. So let's go over those 8 steps again. Number 1, know your options. Get the information. Knowledge is king. Knowing what you need to know. Accept accept that life has changed. Okay, accept you are getting older, because not accepting it is not going to stop the aging process. It's going to keep going. Get physical. Keep that body moving. Now, if you're stuck in a wheelchair right now, maybe you have got an illness or some kind of a physical problem and you cannot get out of your wheelchair. Guess what? There's chair yoga. There's all kinds of exercises you can do right from your chair, and you can even access them on YouTube. Lots of free resources out there. Spend some time in prayer and meditation each day. I recommend at least 15 minutes. If you're challenged with a particular health crisis or relationship crisis or financial crisis right now, up that to 3 times a day. But spend some time there. You'll be amazed at the changes you'll see in your life when you spend time in prayer and meditation. Find a purpose. Doesn't have to be a big purpose. Your purpose can just be spreading joy to everybody that you meet. Go to the grocery store and smile. It's amazing how a smile can change somebody's day. So you don't know how many people that you're changing along the way as you go about with your purpose of just spreading joy. And as you spread more joy, guess what? You'll naturally be more joyful and grateful for every single day and every blessing you've been given. Know what you truly value. If you value your family, how can you take care of them better? How can you spend more time with them? What can you do for them? Stop looking at what they can do for you. What can you do for them? If you value your health, really pay attention to what you need to do. Give up that ice cream, okay? Or at least give it up most days. Celebrate and laugh every single day. Celebrate. Celebrate life. Celebrate who you are. So I hope that helps. And I want to see you aging gracefully. And I'm hoping to continue to age gracefully as well. Hope you had a great time today, and keep learning, keep growing, and keep aging gracefully.